your role at Mashable to your current role at Fashionista, you've chronicled the adoption of technology by retail brands across the board: beauty, fashion, lifestyle. It's been in your bucket. What are some of the trends that you're noticing in the retail industry's adoption of technology as it stands right now?
So I really think that retail, fashion, beauty companies, they've come so far. When I was first covering digital marketing, I couldn't even write about fashion and beauty brands because they were so, especially fashion and retail, they were so late to online. They weren't selling online. They were late to get Facebook accounts, Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts, and for so long they were playing catch up when companies like Pepsi were doing completely new kinds of marketing and reaping a lot of press and a lot of accolades for doing those things. Today, when you look at some of the leaders in digital marketing, some of them are fashion companies. They are the companies that consumer companies cover. I love the pop-up shops that Kate Spade has done and the interactive storefronts. Burberry is definitely a leader. I love things that Aldo has done with video, and and Burberry is obviously a huge leader on so many different fronts. So in terms of digital marketing, I really think fashion is caught up and they've done beautiful things. That being said, in terms of back-end logistics infrastructure, I still talk to VCs all the time, and I talk to retailers, and they say it's so difficult with the infrastructure they have in place to update those systems. I mean, it takes them a year to sign a deal with a provider. And then we've seen all of these direct-to-consumer brands, and they're so nimble. I mean, look at Rent the Runway or Everlane, Stitch Fix. They've done amazing things, and they can really update their system so quickly, and they're leading the way. They're getting a lot of venture capital.
Do you think there's something that other brands can learn from them to help make these colossal ships that are hard to turn and steer a little bit more nimble in their navigation?
I mean, again, I don't think it's easy if you're someone like Macy's or Saks Fifth Avenue and they're at the point right now where they're trying to do same day or next day shipping, or on pick up in store if you order online. Like, those are the things that they are dealing with. They can definitely, I think, because some of these other brands are pioneering new technologies, they are definitely setting a new standard for what customer expectation is. I order something from Everlane, they ship it out the same day, I have it 2 days later, they give me 90 days to return it back, it's free. They are definitely setting the standard, and I think retailers can look to the sort of customer service they're providing and learn from that.
So when it comes to fashion and online journalism, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in the media and publishing industry?
I mean, I think there's just so much more convergence now. I think their blogs for so long were on the outside. They didn't do a lot of reporting. They mostly aggregated. They took Women's Wear Daily stories and New York Times stories, and they repackaged them in a way that online audiences love. But now I don't see a big difference between the kind of reporting that Women's Wear Daily does and the Telegraph and Business of Fashion and The Cut. I think they're they're all part of that media mix now, and of course there are still hierarchies and there are still long established relationships, but the kind of journalism they do is now very similar.
You just touched on a really important topic in the industry, which is the disruption of fashion bloggers. You've got original style influencers like runway models, costume designers, and others, even platform-specific like influencers such as Instagram and Vine stars that are really starting to disrupt this model that really help people get their foot in the door.
Yep.
What do you feel the future of fashion blogging, or at this point, fashion influence, may be?
I mean, I think fashion blogging was so great. I mean, the industry didn't know that they needed fashion bloggers, but they did. They offered this authentic point of view in terms of, street style all of a sudden was capturing style that was authentic on the street. It wasn't composed. Style bloggers had different body types. They had different designers that they wore and a different approach to dressing than what you saw in the magazines. Mm-hmm. And it was really authentic, and people loved that because they weren't paid for. It wasn't like magazines. And now, of course, brands do work with bloggers, and they pay for them to wear things, and they do native advertising campaigns, and it's not really clear if you see a photo of a blogger wearing, say, a Coach bag now, if they were paid to wear it and write about it or not. So I think it's sort of the same thing that magazine editors have always have been, challenged with in terms of influence and trust with readers is now something that bloggers are facing, and they've come under a lot of fire for the fact that they've kind of sold out in a way. Of course, we've had product placement in film and in TV and in music videos for so long, but I think people feel a little betrayed by bloggers because for so long people looked to them as authentic source of style inspiration. That being said, these are becoming really big businesses, and bloggers are obviously transcending photos and a little bit of text and having their own personal blogs. I mean, Man Repeller, Guérin Storey, like they have Into the Gloss, they have multiple editors, writers, photographers now. They are becoming like little mini magazines. Furthermore, they are launching collaborations. They're launching their own fashion lines. They're becoming designers in their own right because they have that same, the same power that Jessica Simpson has to launch a fashion brand. Of course, these bloggers have that influences too, and brands are starting to realize that. So, so I think while bloggers are maybe challenged on the native advertising front, at the same time, they're becoming so much bigger in so many different ways.
One thing that I've seen in all of my clients and even my personal data is the fact that mobile traffic and consumption of content has now usurped, by leaps and bounds. 60% plus of my traffic to almost anything comes from mobile devices, phones and tablets. It's not desktop. Where do you see this, where do you see mobile coming into play in terms of the way that people consume content, they consume imagery, and they also buy products?
Right, in the same way that the internet via desktops disrupted print and took away a lot of those ad dollars, mobile is now very difficult because if you look at a blog on your phone, that blogger is making less money than if you look at the desktop because you simply can't fit as many ads on your screen. Furthermore, anecdotally and looking at the numbers, a lot of bloggers have seen their traffic fall off in the last 6 months to a year because people aren't following their blogs anymore on Blog Living or another RSS feed. They're following them on Instagram. So their traffic's falling, it's going on mobile, so they're making less money than they were making on display advertising. And furthermore, that means there's going to be less click-throughs through affiliate links. Instagram doesn't have links. There are, of course, companies that are trying to build solutions around that, but those are definitely two things that are disrupting and definitely challenging for any online media publisher right now.
A lot of retailers, now that we're getting into the mobile space, they're launching their own apps.
Yes.
And I would love to know your opinion. Do you think retailers should launch their own apps, or should they instead look at services like WhatsApp or the Line in order to leverage those technologies in order to better target deals and incentives to drive people in store or to convert via mobile?
So what I've heard from a lot of retailers is that apps are incredibly expensive to build and they're incredibly expensive to keep maintaining. So unless you're a retail brand of a certain size, if you're a Zara or Free People or Net-a-Porter, yes, then it's going to make sense for you to build an app. But if you're smaller, then it doesn't, at least what I'm told, it doesn't make sense to build an app experience. It has been really nice because that first generation of apps that we saw from Ralph Lauren and Carolina Herrera and Donna Karan's, they were like trying to take the content parts of their websites and stuff them into a mobile app, and it was the kind of thing you open once and then never again. Now apps are so much more functional. They're great for shopping, they're great for consuming content, and personally my buying habits have changed. I'm buying things on apps maybe 2-3 times a week, and I'll buy a dress on Net-a-Porter without ever going to its website. So
do you think that mobile apps like Spring have some viability in the marketplace to help retailers connect to consumers who would want to consume visual imagery but then love something so much, convert it to sales?
Spring is definitely interesting, and it's definitely one to watch. It's too early to say whether Spring is the future of mobile commerce, which is the way that it's billing itself. What we've heard from retailers and brands is that jewelry has done very, very well there, but there's still, and it's been great that someone like Jonathan Simkai who doesn't even have e-commerce, can launch on Spring. But there's still not a great volume of sales from what I understand, and while it's a great proof of concept, I don't necessarily know if that's going to be the future of mobile commerce.
So now that we've moved into the topic of visual web, what do you think, what platforms have really caught your eye? Are you an Instagram and Pinterest lover, or are you a little bit more forward and you're getting into Stellar and Visco? Like, what visual content platforms just are your editors' picks?
I'm not really a visual person, to be honest, so Twitter is still my favorite because I love words.
Yep. Okay.
I do think VSCO is beautiful, and Instagram has become unbelievably important. I don't know if anyone could have seen that coming. Those are still my picks. I also still use Pinterest, but again, I still really like Twitter and I like words.
It's okay. I mean, I love sticking a picture on my tweet, and I'm right there with you. You will never take down my love of the tweet. Well, Lauren, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.